MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
If you're ever going to get in this water, you need to know that it's very fast.
I'm Alina Howder. 2 river rescues performed by the Laurel Fire Department in the last several weeks have a commonality. We'll tell you what that is coming up.
The discovery of 6 dead hostages found in Gaza has prompted a furious reaction among Israelis, with tens of thousands of protesters blaming their prime minister for failing to secure a ceasefire deal. An Israeli-American hostage was among the dead. I'm Carissa Lawson with reaction from the family and the White House.
Alrighty, it is 6 o'clock on this Monday, September 2nd. And Labor Day. So hopefully a lot of people are sleeping in. Maybe they'll catch the rerun of Montana This Morning or something.
That's right. Maybe they will. I know my kids should be sleeping in.
Yeah, good.
Whether they will or not, that's a whole different story.
That's the key right there. Well, a lot of people, a lot of kids going back to school
That's
here
right.
this week. So.
A lot of the public schools heading in tomorrow, today. Our biggest concern, as I see it, is kind of twofold. First, we have a lot more air quality issues today across the area. Some areas seeing unhealthy conditions to unhealthy for sensitive groups. We'll be watching that. Today's going to be windy. It's mild this morning for most areas. We'll be in and out of cloud cover. There's a very outside chance of some afternoon thunder showers firing off across our western counties. Better chances for the overnight. Daytime highs today. It's going to be a hot one with daytime highs near 90 for the afternoon. While we do have some cooler weather on the way, we've got to suffer through some smoke and heat first. I'll break it all down and give you the timing in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you very much, Matt. Now it's a summertime favorite activity, enjoying some time out on the river. But recreating on the water comes with plenty of dangers, putting lives in harm's way numerous times in the past few months. The Laurel Fire Department has been busy dealing with what they say is an unhidden danger on the river. This morning, Arlena Howder takes us there to ensure that the situation doesn't turn tragic.
Everyone made it out safely during those 2 water rescues, but the Laurel Fire Department says this water intake ditch is the culprit.
The Yellowstone River may look peaceful.
The water's moving really fast, even if it's not very deep.
But as longtime fisherman Kelly Caldwell knows, looks can be deceiving.
People think that because the river's low that it's safe. It's not. It's very fast.
2 instances in just the last several weeks have proven Kelly right.
We've had 2 different rescues where people are floating the river and got sucked into the intake.
A current sucked 2 canoers into this ditch back in August.
We take these out and then we can either set a tripod over this and lower somebody down in.
Then on Saturday, the same thing happened to 3 kayakers.
These 2 here are the ones that they were stuck in. One of them was able to make it up and he called for help, and then we responded out here and got the other 2 out.
No lives were lost, but JW says both rescues could have gone much differently.
They could have drowned or they could have been sucked through the intake and came out the other side.
It's why the department's working with a ditch company to put up signs warning recreators of the intake.
We just want to make sure people are aware of this intake and to use caution if they are floating in something that's not motorized. They don't have complete control over getting sucked over here.
If you're out on the Yellowstone, JW recommends staying on the south side of the river, away from the intake ditch. And don't forget your life jacket.
If you're with young ones, make sure that they are safe. And if they don't have a jacket on at all times, you're putting their life at very grave risk.
In Laurel, Alina Howder, MTN News.
And these are sights that we won't soon forget. The historic floods of 2020 raging over south central Montana. Much of that devastation is now cleaned, but now one town is making a push to prevent this scene from reoccurring. MTN's Mac Carmack takes us to Fromberg for the story.
Back in 2022, residents of Fromberg experienced what they now refer to as a 500-year flood, a natural disaster so devastating it's taken years to recover from. But the city believes they've found a solution to prevent floods like this from happening again. Many Fromberg residents remember June 14th, 2022 like it was yesterday.
I think every time I walk outside, I can see that water coming across there.
Larry Richardson lives right at the bank of the river and experienced those moments the water came in. His neighbors believed he was the most affected in the flood, losing his entire house.
My old house, I had a deck and I just filled up my lawnmower with gas. I was going to start mowing the grass. And Sherry up there came walking down and looked right across down here, and the water was coming across directly straight at my house.
And unfortunately, several people along the river experienced very similar moments.
It impacted the town greatly because half of our town was underwater.
Tim Nottingham, the mayor of Fromberg, has been working with the Stillwater and Joliet Conservation District, the USDA, and local county commissioners on their new project. A project which he believes will make the town of Fromberg safer from another disastrous flood.
I had one lady call me the other day, and she lives here on the river, and she was crying because it meant a lot to her to have this project going forward where she can see that her property has a chance to be saved.
And it seems most of the residents of Fromberg aren't sure what to think of this project. But if it works out like promised, they are excited to return to their normal lives.
We're building a barrier to keep the water from eroding it, and hopefully it will not continue into the bank any further than what it is.
A barrier supposed to keep the water out, maintaining local sewage systems and bridges.
If we leave it and don't do nothing, it'll take out our city wells, and it'll take out the county bridge.
The project is set to be finished by September 30th, and if everything goes as planned, the town shouldn't see a flood of this magnitude for the next 500 years. In Fromberg, Matt Carmack, MTN News.
And outrage over the deaths of 6 Israeli hostages taken by Hamas have sparked protests in Israel and here in the United States, with demonstrators calling for a deal to bring the hostages home. One Israeli-American hostage was among those killed. President Joe Biden said in a statement that he was devastated and outraged by the news. The White House says that he and the vice president are set to meet with their hostage negotiation team today. CBS News' Carissa Lawson has more from New York.
Clashes between protesters and police in Tel Aviv overnight as thousands took to the streets in Israel to demand a ceasefire and hostage deal. The massive protests erupted after Israel announced that it had recovered the bodies of 6 hostages in Gaza who were taken by Hamas on October 7th. Israeli officials say they believe the hostages were killed shortly before military forces arrived to rescue them. An outpouring of grief at the funeral of hostage Almog Sarusi. His mother saying, "My beloved son, how we hoped and prayed to see you again." Israeli-American Hirsch Goldberg Poland was also one of the 6 hostages killed. His parents addressed last month's Democratic National Convention.
Hirsch, if you can hear us, we love you.
In New York on Sunday, the families of other hostages called on President Joe Biden to help get a deal.
None of this had to happen.
Over the weekend, the president told reporters he's optimistic that a deal can still be reached. He and Vice President Kamala Harris also spoke to the Goldberg Poland family to express condolences. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned that those who killed the hostages do not want a deal, and he vowed to do everything to make sure the atrocities are not perpetrated again. Israel and Hamas agreed to brief pauses in fighting to allow for UN polio vaccinations, but strikes continue in Gaza, and violent clashes have also picked up in the West Bank. Carissa Lawson, CBS News.
And the White House says National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan met virtually with the families of hostages yesterday to discuss the administration's efforts to push the two sides to reach a deal to bring the hostages home. Now, a little bit closer to home now, with less than 70 days until Americans choose their next president, some Montana voters are discussing election integrity. The Republican National Committee held a training as part of their Protect the Vote tour. MTN's Tommy Lynch was there.
The GOP election integrity team hopes to educate the public on how they can protect their elections.
This should not be a partisan exercise. The Democrats should absolutely agree with us that the sanctity of the ballot is important and that cheating is bad.
At the Great Falls International Airport, the Protect the Vote tour stopped by to educate concerned citizens on election safety and validity.
This is not a conspiracy theory. It's not election denialism. It's about putting basic protections in place so that we have the comfort that the vote is going to count.
Numerous GOP representatives spoke to the crowd, hoping to energize them not only to vote themselves, but to get others out to vote as well.
Really just, voter apathy is a huge problem. And apathy is my vote doesn't matter, my vote doesn't count, or I don't trust the system. And I think that's one of the things that we can really address is trusting the system and making sure that people believe and understand, and we're watching out to make sure that everybody who has the ability to vote is counted and everybody that doesn't, is not qualified to vote, is not counted.
After the speakers, the press was asked to leave as attendees were trained on how they can personally protect the vote.
We want to be educated voters, and we want to educate those that are looking to gain more education, and everybody can't, but we're retired and so we have the time to come, and we just want to understand the process and then encourage other people to get out and vote.
The program emphasized the importance of trusting the system, and it takes each person to hold those around them accountable.
We need to make sure it is done properly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of question as to some of the elections that have not been done properly and evidence to show that. So we want to be part of the ones that when it's done right.
Yeah.
Members of the GOP election integrity team have been pleased with the outcome of these events.
The energy that we're seeing is infectious, and I hope that it continues to grow.
And it's these values that attendees hold dear.
The integrity of elections is fundamental to our constitutional republic.
The GOP election integrity team will be visiting multiple cities in multiple states throughout the country. In Great Falls, I'm Tommy Lynch, MTN News.
Well, football is certainly America's sport, but what is the sport without the classic marching band halftime show? MTN's Marcus Kakova met with the students who took to the field for the first time in Billings in over a decade this week. Here's the story.
I'm here at the first game of the football season for our local high schools, where after nearly a decade of not having a marching band, well, I'll let them take it from here. After more than 10 years of going without, Billings is ready to get the band back together.
I'll answer that question after this, so I'll be right back.
We gave up marching band in our schools 12 years ago.
Our administrator said, hey, I think we can bring the marching band back, and I was the first one to jump on.
The whole band's really excited. I think it's great that we're bringing back something old.
With marching season starting in August, most of Montana is faced with a tiny window of time where the weather is forgiving enough to march.
In Montana, marching band is a little tricky with seasons and things.
But we're still trying to give a little bit of taste of what they're getting into. We're learning some rah-rah cheers, some drum cadences, and now we're actually doing some drill at halftime.
It's so cool because you have to learn how to march smoothly so that your sound isn't moving.
But Montana problems like cold weather making indoor concert bands preferential require Montana solutions, like gathering 50 students across Billings and surrounding high schools who want to be at school during their summer to make a marching band.
We just found a way to do it that's a little more hometown community that way.
I love the spirit that it brings to the football games. Really, really impressed with their work ethic and just feel very fortunate to be here.
I just wanted to be as big as like any other marching band. I wanted to take up like the whole field, like every other marching band.
Marcus Kakova, MTN News.
I mean, it's got to be one of the funnest parts of football games is that band.
You know, and I did marching band, and it's a lot of work.
It's
you
hours.
Put a lot of time.
Absolutely. Yep. I mean, so many hours before school, after school, just to get ready for the big game. It's a great one. All right, time for a quick break. But before we do, we're going to be heading over to eastern Idaho for this story. Just our neighbors, not too far away from us. Well, they let the dogs out. Let me tell you what. It was the dog days of summer. Labor Day for so many. I mean, marking the end of summer.
Yeah.
This pool closed for humans, but that means that the dogs had an opportunity.
Open it up on Labor Day, the final weekend. Let the dogs have a little fun.
Absolutely. You know, especially for those Labradors and Retrievers out there. They had a ball. You can really see some of that natural instinct.
Yeah, literally and figuratively had a ball.
Bingo. Exactly.
Well, not quite there.
That'd be my dog. See, he has varsity ambitions, but kind of a
JV attitude.
JV potential, right, exactly. But there's a lot of dogs out there having some fun. And I know a lot of places around southwest Montana, they do similar things.
Yeah, that's right.
Out there for dogs. So Have a ball, I guess.
That's right.
Why not? All right, quick break coming your way here on Montana This Morning. When we come back, though, Matt's going to break down your forecast, see if it's a pool-like day. We're going to have your top stories and much more coming up.